Hello, everyone. Happy Easter. How's everyone doing? I know it's still early. It's 2 minutes till 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in the UK. But I thought we'll start. We always like if the drummer, if the drummer guests are already here, we might as well sort of like start early. So it's 2 minutes till 9 p.m. in Manila. Hope you've all had a relaxed and blessed Sunday. It's for anyone who's Christian, it's a special Sunday today because the Lord is risen, as we say. So for those who are only starting their day in other parts of the world, I hope you enjoy your Easter Sunday. So yeah, welcome to another episode of Ask the Drummer. Um, Today's guest, I actually saw him play um, with Claire Grogan of Altered Images, and he's absolutely amazing. And I asked him, and I'm really glad that he said yes to guesting here on Ask the Drummer. It was in Liverpool when I saw them play, but he doesn't just play in Altered Images. He's actually um, the drummer for so many bands and so many musicians. And apparently, well, this is from his Facebook page that he's done 120 plus gigs last year. I mean, that's like almost the same number of gigs I went to last year. So absolutely amazing. He's here now, anyway. So, my dear friends, please welcome Kyle Sharp. Yay!
Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
So, thank you so much for saying yes to us, drummer Kyle. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rare that the sun's out in Glasgow, so it's a
Oh,
good Sunday.
do you know, it's funny you said that because every time the last couple of days, the last couple of times I've been to Glasgow, I always prepare myself for it to be really cold going to Scotland, but it's always sunny. And I think the last time I was there on the 10th of April, it was the hottest day of the year.
Please come back more. Then you obviously bring the sun with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, happy Easter, by the way. I've asked you this earlier.
Likewise.
Have you had your chocolate yet? You haven't.
No, it's still
It's
boxed up,
still
waiting to go. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
a treat for later.
yeah, in the Philippines we don't really I don't know nowadays if they have Easter eggs or chocolate eggs in the Philippines, but when I was growing up in the Philippines, when I was young, we didn't have any of that. After church, we used to join the Easter egg hunt,
Oh,
and they're
cool.
not they're not chocolate eggs. They're like hard boiled eggs.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, when I grew up, we used to do the same. We would it's a bit morbid if you think about it, but we'd paint a face on eggs and then roll them down the hill, which
Oh,
and see whose egg got to the bottom of the hill quickest, and hopefully didn't break, right? But like, kind of funny if you think you've drawn a little face on it and made it a little human and stuff, and you're like, right, off you go.
yeah, I never really got to. I think when the kids used to sort of like do it after church, I couldn't. Well, I think I managed to find one all those years that I've been doing all those Easter egg hunt, but it's just so difficult. There's so many children looking for Easter eggs anyway, so it's not just. And I think the priest or whoever used to do it, they used to hide those eggs quite well. So, yeah, but anyway, so I saw Claire Grogan in February
Sure.
in London,
Oh,
and I
brilliant.
told yeah, I told her that you agreed to do Ask the Drummer, and she was like, "Oh," I was like, "Kyle, he's such a sweet boy."
That's funny. Oh, well, I'll take it. I appreciate it.
Well, I will ask you about Claire Grogan altered images later today,
Sure.
but how. Actually, I want to ask, how are you feeling now? Because you were poorly last.
Yeah, yeah, I feel a lot better now. I had I don't know what it was. I think it was just a bit of a flu. I don't tend to get ill very often, but yeah, a few days in bed.
Yeah,
It was pretty bad at points, I thought, but luckily I've got a very lovely partner who made me lots of food and coffees and
looked after you. Yeah,
looked after me. Yeah, so felt very loved, which is nice.
because you have been really busy. I mean,
Yeah,
120 plus gigs last year.
Yeah. It was. I would probably say my busiest year to date, which was nice. It's nice that it feels like I keep getting busier, which feels like a good thing.
Yeah, yeah,
'Cause, the music industry is a funny one, right? Like you never know what's coming next. So
that's right. Yeah,
um, it seems to be still heading in a good direction. So I'm very very pleased with that.
oh,
But yeah,
that's
it was a great year. It was like the nicest. I thought the nicest thing about doing that many gigs was that they were almost all different, and I got to play with so many different bands and artists,
yeah,
which was like I thought that was the most enjoyable bit of it all. Was it was like so much different music, so many different amazing people, and I other with the exception of a few, I'd never really worked with any of these people before. So yeah, really cool.
yeah, and the travel as well.
Yeah, got to see loads of. I know my service stations now. Trust me. Yeah, I've seen I've seen a lot.
Yeah. But anyway, so welcome to Ask the Drummer.
Thank you very much.
Episode 168 is all about you, Kyle Sharp. Um, so you're from Falkirk,
Yes.
according to your Facebook page. You're from Falkirk. Is Sharp a common Scottish name?
No, I've actually researched this. I've tried to research this a few times. So, Sharp is my mum's surname,
Oh, I see. Okay.
but it's not. Yeah, I struggle to find. It's a little bit more English almost, and I guess maybe potentially a little bit German as well. But um, all I can find, I'm going to butcher this, so apologies, but all I can find is that it's like there's a clan in the Isle of Bute, and the Sharp clan was like an adjacent clan. So we don't have a tartan, but there is record of a Sharp clan. With most Scottish names, you see you can trace back to like a Scottish clan, and then
Yeah.
it has an associated tartan. So we don't have a Sharp tartan, but we have like what seems to be the nearest adjacent clan. So there are some records that it could be Scottish, but the jury's out a little bit. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So every Scottish person has got a tartan.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's really cool.
oh
So
wow.
like most, if you have like a proper like an actual Scottish name,
Yeah.
it'll have come originally from a clan, from a Scottish clan, from however long ago, and there'll be
Yeah.
an associated tartan with it. Yeah, it's a really cool game actually. You can just type someone's Scottish name in and find out what their family tartan is.
That's incredible. That is just really, really good.
It's cool, right?
Yeah, I actually Googled Falkirk because I saw a sign that says Falkirk on my way to Dunfermline when I
Oh
went.
yeah,
The last time I was in Glasgow, I went to Dunfermline as well, and there are
cool.
road signs that says Falkirk.
Yeah.
So I Googled it. It actually has that. Do you know that famous metal horse's head?
Oh yeah, the Kelpies.
The
Yeah,
Kelpies, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so that's in Falkirk.
yeah. That's fairly close to where I grew up. Yeah,
I'd love to go there someday. I think
yeah,
I will do someday. I didn't
yeah. They're cool.
realize.
If you
Yeah.
do go, you should go at night because they light up and stuff like that. It's really nice.
Oh, right. It's better to get there like in the
Yeah.
evening. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Because I've seen photos of it and I thought, God, that's really cool. And I know that it's not in Glasgow because if it was in Glasgow, I would have seen it because I,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so I will go there someday. Also, I've found out that the most famous band that came out of Falkirk is Arab Strap.
I didn't know that. Wow. I
Yeah.
can't believe I never knew that. I didn't realize they came from Falkirk. That's crazy.
Yeah. So they're from Falkirk. I think
Right.
yeah. So I have never seen them. I was
Neither.
supposed to see them last year, but then I think it clashed with the Soup Dragons, so I went to see the Soup Dragons instead of Arabs.
Fair. Absolutely fair. Yeah. I didn't know that. You're showing me up on my Falkirk history here. Yeah.
Well, Cocktail Twins. I don't know how close Grange is. It Grangemouth?
Are they from
Grangemouth?
Grangemouth? Oh my goodness. Yes, Grangemouth would be. It's like from Falkirk, it's like a 5 minute, 10 minute drive. It's very close. It's like a few
Oh,
miles
right.
away.
So I didn't sort of like put it down as Falkirk because it says on Wikipedia that they're actually from Grangemouth. So I thought maybe
Ah,
it's a different place.
yeah, it's like one of these. Like it's technically not, but it kind of is. Like it's like so you
Yeah.
might. It's not actually Falkirk, but like it's close enough.
Oh, okay. So that's cocktail twins for you as well. So
Brilliant. I did not know that either. That's I actually there's a band of lots of musicians that you might have seen on your travels from Glasgow. And the band is called, or the band go out and they're called Start to End. And what they do is they pick like a famous album, quite often like lesser known albums, and they go out, or not lesser known necessarily, but like sometimes albums you wouldn't expect.
yeah,
And they play the album start to end, and they bring in lots of like amazing Glasgow musicians, right? So that's ran by a guy called Craig McMahon, who plays keys for an artist called Joseph, and he's done all kinds of like other amazing stuff. And then Martin Johnson, who also drums for Altered Images, who drums with the red hair.
yeah.
And they bring in lots of other like brilliant musicians. And the reason I say this is because one of the recent albums they done was Cocktail Twins, and it was brilliant.
Oh, right. Oh, wow. And they're from Falkirk.
No, Glasgow as well, but it's like well,
Yeah.
they'll all be from different places, but we've all sort
Yeah.
of congregated to Glasgow.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Aiden Rourke, he's my tech support. He's not here at the moment. He's somewhere in, I think it's Manchester Airport. He said that sound and picture very good.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
Alexander Dennis, bus manufacturers. Have you heard of that? Apparently,
Yeah.
apparently are in Falkirk. So, yes.
Yeah. Never been, but right beside where I used to go swimming when I was younger, so
Oh, right.
I know
Okay.
it well. Yeah, it's always quite a small place, so everybody kind of knows everyone, and
Yeah. Yeah. So, what was it like for you, especially sort of like the music scene in Falkirk?
yeah, it was so well. So originally, I grew up in an even smaller town. Like Falkirk was like the big town, which is kind of funny because it's not very big, right? But I grew up in like a really small town with a population of, I think, like 7,000 or something like that. Like a small town on the outskirts.
Yeah. What's
Called
it called?
It was called Denny, and then another one called Stennismere, which got called Steny. So I went from Denny to Steny. And these were like small towns, right? So there's no music scene there at all. Like it wasn't even a consideration because there was just nothing to do in these places. But my older brother played bass in a band, and I always thought that was really cool. So I used to go along and watch his band play gigs and shows, and that was my first ever that was the first time I ever seen music live, and it made me want. That's what originally made me want to play music. So.
Okay. So, where did you go? Is it in Glasgow or?
No, so he would travel from the small town that we lived in to Falkirk, which had
Oh,
at that point had a few music venues in it. So it had a really quite a good music scene at that point when I was younger.
oh, right. So you've got a brother who plays bass.
Yeah.
Any family members, like parents, or are you parents?
No. Other than my brother, we've got my brother doesn't actually play anymore, but when he did at the time, but yeah, just us, no musical family.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what drew us to be honest, but
But have you always been drawn to the drums? Or because your brother
Yeah.
plays, did you? It's always been the drums for you.
yeah. It was just like I don't know what it was. I was just so drawn to that. I remember I'd been to see them quite a few times, and I just kind of knew. And my mum, I remember my mum at the time was like, "There's no way we're getting a drum kit. No, that's too loud." And then when I managed to convince her to get me, and convince my parents to get me for Christmas the
Electronic.
the Guitar Hero Rock Band drums, like for the PlayStation. Like there was a
Oh,
game
so
called Guitar Hero, and
yeah.
they brought a drum kit version out, so I got that, which is like not like playing the drums at all. But it was a start, right? And I was just super hooked. And then when I started high school and I took music as a subject, I picked the drums and I sort of almost used it as leverage, which was kind of cheeky. But I remember coming home and sort of like giving it the whole like, well, I'm doing my drums for my exams, so I need to get a drum kit now, won't I? Which,
So you got it.
I did eventually get one. Yeah. It took a few years of convincing, but I got there.
What did the neighbors say?
Not best pleased, but yeah. It was a love-hate relationship. They like me now. They're very pleased. They're very pleased to see it's all going well. Whenever I go back home.
So you had drumming lessons in high school,
not for the first while. Not for the first while. So I self-taught myself for maybe like 2 or 3 years. I think my first 2 or 3 years I was self-taught.
Yeah.
And around year 3, I remember not. So actually, what would happen is my brother, who played in this band, who was a bit older than me, he was maybe like 7 or 8 years older than me. He would come over every once in a while, and he could play the drums a little bit. And he had left me his old iPod that just had like thousands of songs in it.
Yeah,
so I would just spend weeks just trying to learn the songs on the iPod, and then so that when he came over, I had something to be like, I've learned this, and then he would show me something that like one of his friends had showed him, like, I can show you this drum beat or something, and then I would spend the next few weeks working on that. And I did that for a few years, and I got pretty far. And I was doing my exams at school at that point and stuff like that anyway. So, but I didn't have lessons in school. And then around year 3, I remember not knowing what to do to get any better. So that was when I then decided to get some lessons. And then I think I had lessons for about a year or 2, and that sort of set me in the direction. It was more, to be honest, it was more like I had them for a few years. I really worked on the technique, but it showed me more what it was that I had to be learning, which is what I didn't know on my own. I didn't know what it was that I should be learning. That was the challenge.
And these are like the technical bits. Like
the really technical aspects. Yeah. The not so glamorous bits.
Yeah, knowing all the rudiments and paradigms.
Exactly.
Your brother's band. Are they still going? Are they famous?
No, not anymore. Not anymore. They were really great, but at the time, but they've all just like kind of moved on to other things in their lives.
Yeah, and does he still play or?
Not anymore. Not anymore. I'm sure he could still pick it up, but he runs and does other things like that now. That's lives in the Highlands, lives a very Scottish lifestyle.
Oh, okay. From high school, you did a degree in music. Was it drumming, specifically drumming, that your degree, or?
No. So in Scotland, when I applied, I think it's quite similar now, to be fair. But when I applied for university, there was lots of music degrees, but there was only 2 degrees that you could apply for if you wanted to do like modern music, commercial or popular music.
Oh, okay.
And one was in Edinburgh, and that was a performance course, and one was on the outskirts of Glasgow, which was called commercial music, and that was more like which was the one that I done, and that was like a meant to be, here's everything you'd need to know to hopefully succeed in the music industry. So it's not just performing, but it would be like understanding marketing and business and all the other kind of different parts of the music industry. So I did that course. My head lecturer was Jim Prime from Deacon Blue. He plays the keys.
Whoa!
So, and I don't know if you know these guys. Do you know the Pearl Fishers?
Oh yes, yeah.
Davy Scott.
David, David.
He was one of my lecturers. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I think he's also from Falkirk, because we used to have conversations about this a lot.
Well, I actually saw Pearl Fishers, but then when I saw the Wikipedia page, it says Glasgow. It's a Glasgow band.
Yeah, we all do that, though. We all do that. We come from Falkirk and we say we're from Glasgow.
It's like people in Manchester. It's like bands saying that they're a Manchester band, but actually they're not from Manchester.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, David Scott is your teacher?
He was at university.
He was
Yeah, he was one of my one of my teachers, David Scott and Jim Prime. They
Oh
were
my
two
God.
of my lecturers at university.
You know, I need to go and see him someday because I was gonna go and see. I think he did the show in Bells Hill,
Oh,
but
cool.
recently, yeah. But it just clashed with another gig. But I will someday. I will go and see him. But did you already know that these teachers are already famous? They're in bands or
Sort of, yeah.
yeah,
I did. I'd heard so like Deacon Blue at every family party and stuff like that growing up.
yeah, yeah,
But it was just so normal. Like when you got on the course, it wasn't like it was like you just kind of spoke to them like friends, right? So you kind of forgot. It was easy to forget, and
yeah,
then they would go and do, especially for Deacon Blue. Jim
yeah,
might not be in one day because he was out doing some mega show or something. You're like, oh yeah. He's
Well, they're all
in a
touring
famous
this
band.
year. Yeah, yeah. I think they are. Is it some? I think it's is it either July or something. But I know that they are touring, and
Cool.
I have put it down because I saw them during not during COVID, but when they started, so like playing again. I think 2021. I saw them in Manchester, and they're absolutely amazing. So I thought I'm
Amazing.
gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go and see them again. So, God, that's amazing having those two teachers as well.
Yeah, it
So
was a good course.
yeah, yeah. So but not drums though, because they don't.
No,
So
so
your drum teacher, is he famous or?
no. So he was the local drum teacher in Falkirk. He ran a company called DD Drums, and still does. He still teaches from there. He used to have a shop, and he used to have
Yeah,
a drum. He has in the drum school.
yeah, yeah,
So I went there just purely because he was the local guy, and he was really good. He was a great teacher, to be fair.
yeah,
I really focused on the intricacies that as a teacher it's easy to not sometimes it could be easy for a teacher to not want to spend as long on it because it can sometimes be quite boring, but it's the stuff that you really need to learn to
yeah,
get
yeah,
like a solid foundation. So yeah, he spent a lot of time on that kind of stuff, which I'm grateful for because it's made a big
yeah.
difference.
Because you taught there as well. You
I taught there for
after
a bit. Yeah.
yeah, you taught there, but now you're actually a drum instructor in is it for the council?
Yeah, I teach in high schools. So when I'm not out playing and stuff like that, I teach in a college and I teach in
Yeah,
high schools. And then I have my own private students that I teach as well.
it's brilliant.
So it's a
Um,
good mix.
so you just travel to Falkirk then? You don't because you said that you're now based in Glasgow or
Based in Glasgow. Yeah.
based in Glasgow, so you just travel
Yeah.
to the
So one of the days when I teach in high school, I travel to Falkirk.
yeah,
And then I have a studio in Glasgow, which is my drum studio. So the college that I teach in is in a place called Hamilton, which is just
yeah.
outside of Glasgow.
Oh right,
And
yeah,
then my studio's in the centre, so it's all kind of around. So I just travel to
yeah.
these places.
Well, Hamilton is the bus stop where you you go there to get the bus to Straven.
Oh yeah, Straven's lovely, right?
Because there are loads of gigs I like to go to in Straven, but you've got to go from Glasgow to Hamilton and then Hamilton to Straven.
There you go. You know it well. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're the best person to ask about this. So, can anyone become a drummer? Can
I think
anyone be?
so. I think so. Yeah. I actually have quite strong opinions on this, right? I believe that the whole kind of natural ability debate is a bit not pointless, but I think it can be quite discouraging to some people, right? And what I believe is that like natural ability just might have set you further along the line to completion, right? So I kind of like to imagine, I don't think you can master drums or an instrument, but I like to imagine complete beginner having never played to be here and like
Yeah,
mastery to be here. And your sort of natural ability, if
yeah,
you will, might just start you further up the line and might progress you through the line a bit quicker. But I don't think someone without the natural ability can't get to the same point as someone with natural ability, I think it might just take them longer. That's the only thing. So I think the
All right.
natural ability, I think, just might change how much time someone has to spend on it before they get to a certain level. But I have students that you might have really struggled in the beginning, but they had to put in more work than somebody else, but they still got to the same point, right? So
But you've
so
got it though. You've got a natural sort of like ability to drums because you,
I,
like you said, you've always been drawn to the drums, so you've got it in you.
yeah, I picked it up very quickly. I picked it up very quickly, but I do think that I think the main thing is if someone is buzzing about it, right? So like I
Yeah,
see it from my point of view of being a teacher a lot. Like if a student comes in and they're buzzing about this, no matter how quickly or slowly they pick something up, they can still get there. But when it's really, really difficult is when the student if the student doesn't have buzz about it. And that's just with it. You can't
yeah,
change that as a teacher, right? So um or well, you can influence it, to be fair, but yeah, that kind of like natural drive towards it. I definitely, yeah, I always felt I picked up very quickly in the beginning and was
yeah.
always very drawn to it, and still am, which is
Oh, I've looked at your the descriptions because you've got like an online page where people can book you and things for private
sure.
tuition and stuff. It says there for optimal development and enjoyment, you book a 30-minute lesson weekly
Mhm.
or a 1 hour lesson fortnightly. Is
Sure.
that enough though? I mean, 30
Uh,
minutes.
it's enough lesson time, but then what's maybe not on that page, but I would say to students in the lesson is they should then be looking to practice quite a bit more than that. It depends what their goals are, though, right? Some people come in and they just want to do this totally recreationally, and sometimes you have adults in and they have jobs and they can't
Yeah.
dedicate all this time to it, and sometimes you have kids in who want to play the PlayStation, and you have
Oh,
like all these different things that you have to balance. So, but I would say a good starting point for any student is that if they can spend 5 to 10 minutes per day,
yeah.
then that means that by the time they come back for their next lesson, they've spent a lesson's worth of time on the material. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
for example, if I was going to work on something challenging that I'm working on at the moment, I could be in for an hour or two every day, or maybe more.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's all just, I think it just has to line up with your goals, right? But you're right, 30 minutes is not enough.
Yeah. So
Absolutely not to master something.
you don't always get students who want you to join the band. That's why they want you to learn.
Yeah.
Okay, because I tried it myself, and I think I remember it was always an hour, but I never learned anything. I mean, I tried
Yeah.
3 times.
Well,
I
see,
went,
the risk is that if you do an hour every week, you actually get given too much material, right? That you don't
yeah,
have enough time to practice. So sometimes 30 minutes is enough time for me as a teacher to give you things to go away and practice. But then, yeah, you're right. The onus is still on going away and actually practicing it. Without the practice, nothing happens, unfortunately.
yeah, and not having a drum kit at home because
That's
I
the
remember
challenge.
the reason why I wanted to learn is because when I used to live in the UAE, there are these Americans who told me I was on my holiday. I'm going to the Philippines for a holiday,
Oh, brilliant.
and they said to me before I left, "Learn how to play the drums. When you come back, we're gonna form a band, and then you'll be a drummer." So I did. So
Amazing.
I tried. So I tried, but I couldn't do it. I decided right there it's not for me. I mean, I'm not
Sure.
ready.
Well, at least you were honest with yourself, I guess, right?
No, I just love watching it because I remember, like I think it was most of the time of that hour lesson. I was just watching the drummer. I was just watching the instructor because he was so amazing. I thought, I'll just watch you. I'll let you play.
That's cool. That's cool.
Right. So talk. So let's talk about all the bands that you were in. What was your first band after learning how to play the drums?
My first band was with my brother. Oh, you can probably still find stuff about this online. There's probably still an online footprint
What's
for
it
my first.
called?
Would have been called Callisto, with a C, Callisto, right? So it was like
Okay.
a rock band that I was in with my brother, and he was much
Okay.
older than me. And I like this story a lot actually, but like I was 13 or 14, he was 19, and his guitarist was 19 as well. So I was a lot younger than them.
Yeah.
And because they were older, they would get booked for over 18 venues.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I wouldn't be allowed in the venue because I was under 18. So what I would do is I would arrive very early in the day. I feel like this is a good dedication to how much I wanted to do it kind of story. But I would arrive, if the gig was at 10 p.m., I would show up at like 2 p.m. when there was no security or anyone, and I would just find a corner in the back of the venue and just sit there all day, so that by the time the security came on, I had already been in the venue. And then I would wait until 9:30, 10 p.m., play my set with my brother, and then leave. But I always got quite funny looks from the security when they seen this young boy leaving. Like, what? When did he get in?
So they never ask you to leave. I mean, you're part of the band, so of course.
I think because I had been there sort of so early. I looked quite old for my age, but because I had been there so early,
yeah.
I think people sort of were just like, this guy's just been here. He must be here for a reason. And they kind of said, I only ever got, and we played gigs for 3 years or something like that, and I only ever got kicked out of a venue one time. So that
because
that was
you're
not
right.
Yeah, but only one time.
Oh gosh.
But I feel like that was a good. I'm glad I did that. I was pleased with that because it was quite. It felt like having to show kind of like dedication to do it, right?
Yeah,
I just wanted to do it so much, so I was like, I'll just sit here bored
How
for
long
hours.
How long did this band last?
Like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Because I think when we finished, we stopped being in a band just as I was heading to university, which would have been when I was 17. So
okay, yeah.
So about 3 years, yeah. And then after that band, so that was my first proper band, and then after that band, I joined another band from Falkirk called the Blue Lights, and they were like a kind of alt rock type band, and that was cool. That was different than similar but different style of music
from
my first band.
Yeah.
And with people that I had never met before, that I met when I became a part of the band. So that was a good experience to like the whole social side of music, right? And I had to became friends with these people and stuff like that. And we done a lot of really fun stuff. Like went down to different parts of England and done different interviews and gigs and things like that. And lots of different shows and festivals. And that was I really enjoyed playing in that band a lot, actually.
Yeah.
And then
did you have like original material? It's not like a cover band.
Both bands were all original material.
Original material, yeah. Were you able to release?
I think all the releases are still online. I think the Blue Lights stuff I think is all on Spotify, but I believe they have since re-recorded after I left a few years into the Blue Lights, and they brought a new drummer in. I know the guy well. He's a brilliant drummer, really nice guy as well. And I think they done a re-record of all the music with his drumming on it, which is like totally fair. So if you listen to that band on Spotify, I think you'll hear the second drummer's drumming. But if you listen to Callisto online on Bandcamp, you'll hear all of my original
your drumming.
13-year-old drumming, it's just great.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah. You'll see my big long hair. It's very funny.
So, would you consider yourself a session drummer, or are you part of a band now? Because I know that Becky Sikasa, because you've released an EP or with Becky, and you're actually the drummer of Becky Sikasa.
Yeah. So I'm a sort of mixture of both, right? So I do a session drumming with a lot of different bands and artists, but I also am a member of a few bands. So it's like a mixture. But I started off always as a member of bands, and then started to pick up session as I went. So like Becky's a great example, because it's Becky's music and it's Becky Sikasa and whatnot. I record the drums for it and write the drum parts for it now and stuff. And didn't in the beginning, but do now, which is really great. So I wouldn't class myself as a session musician. I would class myself in Becky's band, absolutely. We have a really tight knit band. The band's a bit like a family for Becky's music, but it's that sort of like in between, right, where it's not like 4 guys in a band who all are in the pictures and stuff. Like it's very much Becky, but the band are all the same people every time. Like we are.
So
this is
your band at the moment, or because I've seen that you also in lots of like, is it, how do you pronounce it? Van Ives?
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trust me, we've had a lot of funny attempts at that. So that was bang on.
So are these also your band, or are you?
Yeah, Van Ives was my Van Ives was my band. We not really playing at the moment. We're all off doing different things, but yeah, Van Ives was my band, and is, I guess. That was actually so I joined that band when I was just finishing uni, which is when I met Stuart. And that band, I think, effectively launched the entire rest of my music careers, as far as I'm concerned. Like I've done so many things that like I'll be proud of forever with that band. So that's kind of where it really felt like it all started for me in that band.
All right. And are they? What are they? What are you doing now?
Not much. Yeah, we're all working. Stuart, we're all working on different things at the moment. So Stuart has just started to release music under. Stuart was the singer in Van Ives. He's just started to release new music under a name, Eriff, ERIFF. So I'm working on that with him. And Rowan, who played keys in Van Ives, is also working on that with him. And as is a guy called David Scobie, who played bass in Van Ives towards the end. He is also working on the Eriff music, but
you get back together and sort of play again?
I think so. Yeah, we played fairly recently.
Since you're all working in sort of like the same, So
I think we just done it for so long, and we were really fortunate. And when would it have been, like 2019 or 2020 or something? We got a lot of Creative Scotland funding to make our debut album. So with Van Ives, up until this point, we'd released 3 EPs, I think. And we had been on tour around the UK and stuff. We went on tour around the UK with a band called Fatherson, who are really great, and played lots of festivals and done lots of stuff that we were proud of. And then we got all this funding to make our debut album, which we recorded with a producer called Fred Cox, who was signed to Universal as a producer, who I believe recorded Rag and Bone Man's Human. So great experience working with him. And then we released the debut album, which was called Thanks. And I think we were all just a bit knackered after it. We just took a break, and the break just lasted longer than we hoped.
But it's not like the end of it, though. You're still hoping that you know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. No immediate plans, but we'll see what comes. Yeah.
Well, before I ask you about Altered Images, there are other bands like the Vegan Leather, and B Charlotte and Wireless. I mean, these are all bands these are all your bands, or you played as a session drummer for these bands?
So session drummer for Charlotte, the Vegan Leather, I was a part of for a few years, but they were already an established band, and then I joined for a few years. When would that have been? Like pre and post COVID? Yeah, it would have been both. Yeah, because I played the first show we played back after COVID was Liverpool Sound City. So I played with that band for a few years. I loved that band. Like I was a fan of that band for a long time before I joined. And B Charlotte is an amazing Scottish pop artist who I played session drums for quite a while, and still do.
Yeah. So all these bands, they're still going, or
Yeah. I get Vegan Leather. I think quite similar to Van Ives at the moment.
okay.
Jan and Matt of the Vegan Leather are playing in a band called Gallus, which are a brilliant band, and their time's mostly occupied with that. So the
Yeah,
Vegan Leather kind of dip in and out to do shows once every
yeah.
while now.
Because I mean, no wonder you've done like 120 plus gigs last year. I mean, if you're a part of this, do you know what reminds me is when I had Stephen Morris of New Order on the show, I
Mm,
remember him saying that he really wanted to be a session drummer because you get a lot of work as a
you
session.
do, yeah.
But then, of course, New Order got back together and then they started playing again. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a grass is always greener thing, I think, because when you're a session drummer, you're probably thinking, I wish I was in a band. And then when you're in a band, you're probably thinking, I wish I was a session drummer. Yeah. So,
yeah. But there's always like advantages being a session drummer, isn't it? Because you're not tied to just one band. I mean, you can play whatever. Is
yeah.
it hard to do different? Are they more or less similar kind of music, or
No, so well, at least not
style?
for me. The music that I've played has all been quite different, which I've really enjoyed
Yeah,
because it gives me challenges. So like the process, I think the process of learning is quite similar. The process of like writing out the songs and working out the structures
yeah,
and things like that. That's all quite similar. But like to use Be Charlotte as an example, that's very electronic drum heavy, right? So there's lots of electronic drum stuff everywhere, and it's hitting really specific samples. And a big
yeah.
part of that gig is knowing how to actually even use that kind of equipment and triggering like different playback and all that kind of stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
and it comes with like specific style of drumming to play that kind of stuff. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
but then like the Vegan Leather was like 11 out of 10 hard art rock. So, and Van Nuys is kind of like maybe somewhere in between both. I would have said like there was really electronic points
Yeah.
with all the samples, and then there was really kind of gritty singer songwriter stuff in there. And so the performing, I played drums with a really great pop artist at Transmit Festival last summer called Ellie, and that was again like that was heavy hitting pop, but with samples and electronic stuff going on, which is very different to the to the Altered Images drumming that I was doing
Yeah.
like a few months later. So drumming wise, it's very different from like a genre point of view, which is I think which has been the biggest draw to me to the session stuff.
Yeah. So, because you're not just doing the sort of like same music style, for
Yeah.
all of them. So, how did you get the drumming job for Altered Images?
So very simply, the drummer with the red hair that if many people have been to see Altered Images will have seen over the last few years is is a very good friend of mine, and he couldn't do that tour, and gave me a call and asked if I wanted to do it, and it worked out pretty much perfectly in like a slot of my calendar where I had no work in, so I said yes, and then I sent a CV and like a sort of press pack with like all of my previous work and stuff like that over to the band, and they seemed happy enough, and then we sort of took it from there. So yeah, it's funny, a lot of these.
Were you already a fan of Altered Images? Do you already know their songs?
Yeah, I think it's hard to be Scottish and not know.
I know. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very cool, and I knew a lot as well because, like I say, Martin is a good friend of mine, so I'd seen lots of what he was posting and things like that as well.
Well, what was it like when you first met Claire Grogan?
It was cool. It was so cool. Yeah. It was so cool, so understated. I was like, "Oh my god, how's it going?" She's like, "Hi, how's it going?" Yeah. But I met her the first time. Let me let me think. So I'm trying to think. So yeah, so before the Altered Images tour, I had a rehearsal in Glasgow with the band because most of all the band live in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Claire lives down in London. So I had a rehearsal in Glasgow with the band, and then we travelled down to, as a band, we travelled down to London to meet Claire and Christine, who was tour managing, and then start the tour from there. But we had a London rehearsal before the first show, which was the first rehearsal, which was the rehearsal with Claire as well, right? So I can't remember if that was the first time I met Claire was in a rehearsal or if I'd met her the day before for the first time. But it was kind of cool because it was like meeting for the first time, but also being like, let's play the songs. Here we go.
Because she's like, because being a pop icon, so a Scottish icon as well, and she's so beautiful, but she doesn't seem to have any ego. It's like she'll talk to anyone. She's so like,
yeah, it's lovely, right?
Yeah, she's so lovely, very friendly, and I can't believe I was like, I asked her for her signature in the photograph, and then I just said to her, "Oh, Kyle Sharp, your drummer, he agreed to say yes, casting on that." I said, "Oh, it's such a such a lovely."
That's very funny. I would say the same of Claire. I think she's very lovely. She before we met for the first time and then done the shows, she gave me a phone call a few times, and we had a really nice chat beforehand and stuff like that. So that was really nice of her.
How long was the tour? Was it like?
It was like 2.5 weeks or something. 2.5, 3 weeks. I think.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, I think so. It would have been about 2.5 weeks.
So you went on like the same tour bus or
same bus the whole time? Yeah, van. Yeah.
Well,
you get to know people pretty quickly when you spend every waking minute of your day with them. Yeah.
That must have been really amazing, because I've had an experience when I did merch for the Soup Dragons, and cool. It's just incredible just being with them, for 3 days. It's brilliant. So it must have been an amazing sort of experience, traveling.
Yeah, it was a brilliant experience. Mandy, who's on bass, I already knew pretty well. She was already a friend. We'd actually played. It's quite a common thing that musicians will also play in wedding bands and play like different corporate events and weddings and things like that, right? So Mandy and I had played a few weddings together in the past. So we already knew each other. But the guitar player Andrew, him and I have become, I would consider him like one of my close best friends after that tour. Became really good friends with Jill as well, who plays guitar as well. So you just become it's hard. You spend so much time. Same with Christine, the same with Claire. You spend so much time with the people on the tour that it's hard not to become friends with them after, right? And that's kind of the most enjoyable bit, I think.
Yeah, are you still in touch?
Yeah. Still in touch with everybody. Yeah.
So if they decide to do another tour, we'll get to see you play drums for them again.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, I think hopefully got some shows in the summer. Yeah, so.
Well, I mentioned Becky Sikasa earlier because she's recently won the BBC Introducing Scottish Act of the Year.
Yes.
Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. And you are, because I know that Brooke Combe, I don't know if you know her.
I do know Brooke Combe, yeah.
Yeah. She's, again, solo artist, but she's got her own band. So I think Becky Sikasa, it's a similar thing, isn't it? She's
very soulful.
Yeah, but just a band that's really her band.
I see what you mean. Yeah. That's what I was sort of getting at earlier about. It's not really session, but outwardly it looks like So we are. That's I very good example. Yeah.
So are you going to be touring? this year?
Hopefully, we toured last year. We toured Scotland, and then we went over and we toured Germany, with Becky, which was great. Which I
Yeah,
think was just, I think Scotland was before the Altered Images tour, and then I did the Altered Images tour, and then I came home, and then I went to Germany on tour with Becky. So
yeah,
it was like an all go few months, which was really great, right? So hopefully touring this year, we've got a few festivals already lined up for the summer, and then but nothing else in at the moment. So we just this year so far we had a headline show at a venue in Glasgow called the Rum Shack just at the start of the year.
oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
know that place. I have
Oh,
been.
you've been to the Rum Shack? Great. Yeah. Amazing. That's a lovely venue. And then we had BBC Scottish Artist of the Year, which was a
Yeah,
live final.
congratulations, by
Thank
the
you very
way.
much. Thank
You
you very
know,
much.
because
So
even though it does say Becky Sikasa, you are part of it. And what about the songs? And it's your drumming. What do you call it? Like it's your drum part.
yeah, I
Uh,
feel quite proud of that. I feel
yeah,
pretty pleased that to have played my part in what I
yeah,
think is like some really great music. I
yeah,
love that music so much. So yeah, I feel quite proud
yeah.
to be involved in it, have my drum parts in it as a little
I, I, I
thing.
should I should rephrase it into the writing process of the songs that Becky Sikasa's EP. That that's actually you. So like taking part. You've done your part on that
Yeah,
one.
so like Becky writes all of the songs and then she produces them and arranges them with David Scobie, um, and then I come in at some stage and record a drum part on it.
Yeah,
And sometimes Becky has like a complete idea, and David, sorry, have a complete idea of what it is that they want the drum part to be, and we work like that and record that. And sometimes they have no idea, and I get to go free on it, which is great. And so it's like a good mixture on the songs.
yeah,
Sometimes it's a lot of my input, and sometimes it's that they've already sort of like made their decisions on what they want it to be, and I record a part. So it's a good mixture.
yeah.
Keeps it interesting.
Yeah, I find it really fascinating because you know when the songwriters, like especially
Mm-hmm.
in the band, so when most of the time the songwriter is the singer, and so I I am fascinated whether it's actually already a full song or like
Mm.
the full thing, and then the other members of the band just play what the
Yeah, well, I think every song has a different process, sort of, right? So, excuse me. At least in my experience from writing music with Van Ives and different sessions and stuff I've been involved in, sometimes you come into a session and it's
yeah
almost entirely complete, and you're recording an idea that somebody already has, and it's because it's like all there, and you just need to record the parts. And sometimes somebody comes in with like the most loose idea possible, and you build it up together in the room. And there's everywhere in between. The process is just different every time, which is pretty cool. Sometimes you
would
have a complete section. Maybe you have a complete
yeah.
chorus, but you don't have the rest of the song yet. Or yeah,
Would you prefer it if it's just already there and then you just play the drum parts, or you prefer having your own song?
I don't know. I don't know.
So,
I kind of like just knowing that it's probably going to be different every time. I quite like just approaching the challenge that is there. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I that's part of the magic for me, is that it's almost like, right, what are we coming into this time then? Oh, wow, cool. Then you keeps you on your toes.
yeah, that is true. So are you gonna be doing the same thing like 120 plus this year? What's your
Um,
next what's your next tour, or what's your next plan as gig wise?
so the funny thing is, I've got a bit of summer mapped out already. I'm going to take a few holidays this year. That's
Oh, okay.
part of the plan, because
Okay.
I haven't really done that a lot over the last few years. It's been
Okay.
a lot of work. So I've got
Yeah.
a few holidays booked in already this year, which is good. And then I have some Altered Images gigs already in the calendar, which should be pretty cool.
Oh,
um,
brilliant.
for summer, and a few Becky gigs in the calendar. And like I said about wedding and corporate stuff, I've got wedding and corporate gigs through the calendar for the
Yeah.
rest of the year so far. So, and then what tends to happen is it's kind of funny how a musician's calendar, at least in my experience, how it works, right? Because you start out with like the sort of skeleton of a year. Like I can look at my calendar at the moment and see what I have in until December, and it's sort of fairly, there's not too much in it yet. But
Mm.
come June, you can suddenly receive a phone call that gives you a month-long tour, and then you're like, right, there's a month's worth of work added in, and you just sort of work through the year like that, and things get added in as you go. So it's almost like I've learned over my last sort of 10 years of doing this that it's too early in the year yet to say what the year is going to look like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I've got like a rough idea of the skeleton of the year, and I just now, because it's happened, I've done it enough times now. I just now have confidence that come the end of the year, it will have completely filled out, which is
Yeah.
sounds quite terrifying. I appreciate it, but part of the fun, right?
But there's also the practice as well, especially if it's playing in a band that you've not done before, that
Mm.
you're asked to sort of like play for them. There must be like a practice time that you have to devote to this. So like,
Yeah. I'll give you an example. Actually, an example right here. So I'm joining an artist. I've got a rehearsal tomorrow to join a Scottish artist called Cammy Barnes next week because their drummer can't make a gig, and so he's asked me to fill in,
yeah,
which I think I get quite a lot of work like that, where I'll fill in for different drummers that can't make gigs and things like that, right? So, so this is my wad of notes for the set that I've just
oh,
drawn
okay.
out over the last. It looks
How long
very
does it take
very.
you? Well, how long does it take you to practice it and so like know all the drum parts for the songs?
So for that I got a recording of a previous gig that they'd done, and it probably takes me like to go through and write out the structure and write out all the parts and things like that. It probably takes me like 20 minutes per song or something, because I've done it a lot. And then
Yeah,
once I have it all written out, so if there's 15 songs, then it's, I don't know what that is, whatever that works out to be, 15 times 20 minutes. I don't know,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
5 or 6 hours maybe, to write it all out. And then once it's all written out, then I would go through a bunch more times and actually practice what I've written out. And then eventually the goal would be to not be having to use the notes. So the whole process, I would say, to practice a set, an hour-long set, I would say the whole process probably takes like 20 hours, 30 hours or something.
Oh,
And then
wow.
you'll have a few rehearsals with the band as well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
but I personally, I really like to have everything at like the level that I like to be as personally as rehearsed going into the rehearsal as I would need to be on the stage, if that makes sense. So
yeah, yeah. And when bands rehearse, do you play all the songs that you're gonna be playing?
you you would yeah. So it can sort of vary depending on what type of rehearsal you're doing. So sometimes you'll just be going in to work on like just the vocal parts, or sometimes you'll be going in to rehearse the whole set, or sometimes you'll be going in and doing what you would call a pre-production, which would be like you're rehearsing, but you're also bringing your full audio and lighting team in, and you're setting up the full rig that would go on stage so that you can run it like a show and make sure everything works.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
Usually before tours or things like that, you would usually do a pre-production so that like the sound engineer has his stuff all worked out, and the lighting engineer has their stuff all worked out, and the band have their stuff all worked out. So it's like effectively like a mock show.
yeah.
So you have all these different types, depending on what you're doing.
That's just incredible. But can I just ask you, when you go do sound check, how do you choose the songs that you're gonna be practicing for sound check?
It's a very good. This is a very good question, right? It's a very good question. It's usually a combo of a few things. It's usually a combo of the one that you feel least. Maybe there's a song in the set that you're like, oh, it would actually be good to practice to do that in sound check, because I'm not quite sure about this bit. Is that okay if we practice this? But usually, what that if you do a long tour or something, you work your way out of that quickly, right? So usually, what you do is you pick a song that has, like, say there's two guitarists on stage and there's a bass player, and say there's keys or like backing tracks or something like that. You
Yeah.
might do a song where it has both guitars in it, but that might not have the backing tracks in it. So then you would also do a song with the backing tracks in it, so that the sound engineer can get a level for those. And then you would do a song with. So you just want to make sure that like all of the instruments have been heard.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
goal. So you would tend to pick a song that has the most amount of the instruments in it, because it covers most of the bases.
Oh, right. And of course, the sound engineer has to be good as well because they're the ones who mix all the.
Yeah. That's right.
I have been to some, like, I've seen some sound checks, and um, it's just fascinating. You know, I mean, I love watching them, but then it's also fascinating seeing the sound check as well.
How different the sound check and the show can sound, right? I mean, even the difference between an empty venue and then a venue with lots of people in it sounds completely different. Which is quite
Yeah,
fascinating. But yeah.
yeah, because the musicians actually hear different things from what the audience are hearing. Because I didn't realize that. Do you know? Because sometimes when they say you see them saying going up or something, or add something to the monitor or something, and I'm always so like curious, what are they talking about?
Yeah. So these things, I'm actually wearing mine for this, but these are in-ear monitors. I don't know if you can see these. These
Yeah,
are
yeah,
what a lot of bands will use on the stage now instead of the big monitor wedges, because it's better for your ears.
yeah.
So I would have like a little box that these were plugged into, and then all of the sound just goes straight into my ears. But everybody has a preference. So for me, I like to hear a lot of, like, if it's a gig with backing tracks or with metronome, I like to hear a lot of the metronome, and I like to hear a good bit of drums, and then a bit of vocals, and not as much guitar, and a lot of bass. That's usually what I like, because they're the things that I have to lock into. I need to make sure drums and bass are like really locked in together. Guitar, I love to hear it because it like makes me feel like I'm in the gig, but I usually just have it a bit quieter, and then I like to hear the vocal a lot as well. But if you asked a guitar player, it would be a different answer,
A different
right?
one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So when you're setting up your in-ears, so musicians, when they're setting the in-ears up, they're trying to hear the things that they need to hear most to make the performance as good as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
But it sounds so different than it would sound for you on in the crowd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which sort of like just got reminded of. Do you know what happened to Zach Starkey of the Who?
Oh, I've seen this. Yeah, that's crazy.
He was sacked, but now he's back on
But he's
again.
back. Yeah,
He's
but they made him apologise.
There's something to do, like, so Roger Daltrey said that he couldn't hear because all he could hear is just the boom, 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 boom. So would you say it's really down to the sound system, the sound engineer, or?
Yeah, I don't know where something went wrong there. I'm a bit confused by that, because Zach Starkey was playing electric drums anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm not sure how it was that loud, but fair enough. But it would have been down to whatever. It sounds like it was an issue with his monitoring. It sounds like he wasn't getting what. But whether that was the sound engineer's fault or whether it was a miscommunication, like, who knows, right? You would never know unless you were there. But it
yeah.
sounds like he wasn't getting the information he needed in his monitor. So it might have only been drums, because he wasn't hearing enough guitar and vocals or whatever else as well.
So
But
it's yeah, it was possible that it's just the drums that he could hear. So
yeah, because the other
okay.
things weren't loud enough in the monitor, for example. But it's such a tough one, right? Because we can all
yeah. And of course, as a member of the audience, I mean, you don't know because you're
you
just
won't know.
there.
Yeah, it
Hearing
sounds.
the whole thing.
Yeah, it sounds so different. Honestly, you might be able to find it. You might be able to find a version, like if you YouTubed or something, drummers in-ear mix, or I don't know, whatever. You might find a video where someone has like recorded what their in-ear mix sounds like, and then you'll hear what the drummer is listening to compared
Oh,
to
I see.
what the
Yeah.
crowd is
What?
listening to.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
because the
that's
other thing about the in-ears that is quite different is you tend not to have any of the effects on anything. So like a singer's vocal out front might have reverb on it, and it might sound really big and stuff like that, right? But for the musicians on stage, they tend not to put the reverb and all these effects on, so it sounds like completely different.
that's amazing. Wow. See, I could never be a musician because I don't know any of this.
Ah, no, but you pick this stuff off over time. This is just little bits you pick up. You're not doing this stuff in the beginning, don't worry.
It's just really fascinating stuff, all that thing, you know. So, I mean, sometimes I feel really lucky sometimes that I get invited to sound checks because, you know, you get to see the magic behind it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So when do you get time to teach your students then? Because it
So
seems like you're really busy. So,
yeah, my week is kind of like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I teach,
okay.
and then that leaves like the weekend and the start of the week for gigs, which is the Friday, Saturday, Sunday is usually gig day. Although I play a show on Thursday, so I teach on Thursday and then I play a weekly show on Thursday evening at the moment, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, but when you're touring though, so you just don't go back to Falkirk and
So yeah, I've got it's worked out really nicely so far that like one of the benefits of teaching in schools is that schools have lots of holidays as well, right? So
oh yeah, yeah.
tours and things like that tend to be
Yeah.
in the summer most of
During
the
the holidays.
time, and it's so far has worked out pretty great. Where all like my tours and things that have come in have actually been over the holidays anyway, which is quite funny to use the holiday and be off on a tour and then come back and so it's like adds to the whole like non-stop feeling of it all, which is quite good.
Yeah. And what about your students? Do they know that you're a famous drummer?
Oh, I don't know about famous. I don't know about famous. But thank you. But I make sure like to let my students know what I do and the different bands I play in and stuff like that. And some of them are like looking to pursue music themselves, and I think it's cool to be able to share like my experiences with them and help give them like a leg up. I guess like kind of almost like teach them from like the live performing point of view, things that I had to learn along the way. Just nice to be able to give them that knowledge from the start as well. So yeah, some of them are really really interested in it, and some of them are like, I don't care, man, just teach me drums. And I'm like, I can totally humble you back down to earth, which is great. I kind of love to be fair.
Has anyone asked you to sort of like put them on the guest list so that they can see you or so?
Most of them aren't old enough yet, which is great.
All right, yeah.
I've got a few that are just heading off to university as well, to do music. So a few students that are just now heading off into the musical world themselves. So I've told them that I'll get them to some sound checks and things like that over the next while, which I think it would be really good for them to see, like just similar to how you're saying, to like come and see how it's all done and stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
Because it is like a mystery world until you've seen it. You're just like, how does this all work?
I know. Oh, that's very good of you as a teacher to let them sort of like see that. Do you get starstruck yourself? I mean, I know Claire Grogan. I mean, were you starstruck when you saw her, when you met her?
Yeah, it was kind of surreal. It was just like I say, because we had to get straight into rehearsals and stuff. Like I think maybe it took not took it away, but it made it more like just like I had a job to do as well.
Of course,
so, yeah. I tend not to get starstruck very often. Claire is a good example, to be fair. But like you say, Claire's so humble. So you ask her like a story or whatever, and she's like, "Oh yeah." I'll tell you about that. And you're like, "Oh, fair enough." No, I tend not to very often, but I don't know yet, because I'm sure I'll meet someone and be like, "Oh my god." I think that when I was younger, I worked a lot in the Scottish Drum Festival, which is it doesn't really happen anymore, but it was a yearly festival where famous drummers from around the world would come and perform, and then there would be like a trade hall, where like the brands would come and put on their newest stuff.
Yeah.
Because I started playing drums when I was like, I think 13, 14. So yeah, when I started high school, that's when I started 13. And I just like involved myself in it straight away. So I worked at the Scottish Drum Festival, and because of that, I was around like legitimately a lot of the world's top drummers from a really young age. So I think maybe I've just got all my drummer starstruck out early. I don't know.
So you're not someone who don't like. I don't know, who's your favorite drummer?
I think my favorite drummer. Oh, that's to be fair. Yeah, I reckon I'd feel pretty starstruck if I met this guy. Yeah, I think my favorite drummer, not as well known, but a guy called JP Bouvet, and I just think he's amazing. Like, it's what I think is so cool about him. He's, like I say, not as well known. He's not like in a big band or anything like that. He's more like a drummer's drummer. Like he's made his career out of being a drummer.
Okay.
And so I've listened to him since I first started playing drums. But what I think is really cool is he wouldn't have been too much older than me. He would have been like 19 or 20 when I first started listening to him.
Oh.
So he's changed and progressed a lot as a drummer as he's gotten older, and his drumming's matured and changed, and his sound's changed. And I've also changed in what I like the sound of as I've gotten older. Yeah. But as both of those things have changed, like his playing and what I like, I've just always still loved the sound of his playing. So as his sound has changed or whatever else, it's just for whatever reason always totally hit me. That's why I think I probably love him. I reckon I'd be pretty starstruck if I seen him actually.
So you haven't met him yet?
Not met him. I would love to meet him.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Well, it's over. I always say we'll only do it for an hour. It's over an hour now, but I've still got my regular questions. The first one is actually drumming heroes. I mean, you mentioned these guys. You're one of your favorite drummers, but anybody else? Your drumming heroes?
So drumming heroes, I would say JP Bouvet, a drummer by the name of Benny Greb, is like quite widely considered like one of the best drummers in the world by drummers. A German drummer, he's really great. JP Bouvet, Benny Greb, a guy called Thomas Lang. I grew up listening to a lot. I think he's brilliant. So
yeah.
And let me think. There's a drummer called Mike Johnston who, again, if you're a drummer, like it's impossible to miss this guy. But I didn't play in like any big famous bands. So my drum heroes are more like drummers than like drummers from famous bands, which is quite interesting. Yeah. I've never noticed that until right now. But
well, John Bonham, because John Bonham.
Yeah.
You know, when you're talking about drummers, so it's like
it's funny because it's like your John Bonhams, for example. All the drummers that I've just mentioned will all have like a bit of a John Bonham sound in their playing because he influenced so many drummers.
Yeah.
So it's he's one of the kind of goes without saying drummers. I think a little bit, right?
So any of the Scottish bands famous? So like Scottish bands drummer that.
I feel so bad because I don't actually know his name, but I grew up like obsessed with Biffy Clyro, and so that drumming left like a ton of impact on me when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I like the Biffy Clyro Puzzle album. I played that album on my.
Are they still around? Are they still playing?
Yeah, still playing. Yeah. Yeah, I played that album on my drums so many times.
Oh, okay. Actually, I wanted to ask you also: do you twirl when you play?
I don't personally. I
No.
twirl in front of my students to wind them up. Yeah.
Is that one of the things that you teach your students how to sort of like twirl sticks? So you can
I
do it. You
I
can
can
do
do
it.
it. Not
Yeah.
amazingly, but yeah. I've not tried. If I try, I just could see it going so horribly wrong. I think it's really impressive when people can do it.
Yeah.
I think it's really
Yeah.
cool.
When I saw you in Liverpool, for the I was all like waiting. Is he going to twirl? Is he going?
There'll be no twirls from me anytime soon, I'm afraid.
What about? Have you ever had any drumming disasters or accidents in your years of playing? You've been playing since 13, since you were 13. So have you ever had any accidents?
Um,
Drums?
no, like I've had like the drop to stick, oh, this is quite a funny story. It didn't end up working out to be an accident, but it was very close. So, and I think this was like this happened quite early in my playing career, so I think this might be why I've not had any accidents since, because I've always tried to be as
Careful.
prepared as possible. Yeah, so I was playing a wedding, like away up in like a countryside part of Scotland that was like 3 hours away from where from Glasgow, right? So,
Yeah.
and at that point I was running backing tracks with the wedding band, and I was doing it on it's called a Roland SPDSX. It's like a sample pad, so you can put sounds in and trigger it, right?
Yeah.
And most people put the sounds into it on a pad that they can hit to start, and so you just have to tap the pad and it starts the sound. But I tried to be clever and put all the sounds on to a bit of the pad that you can trigger with a little foot switch. So you plug the foot switch in, right, and you hit that and it starts the sound.
Yeah.
I thought it was really great until I opened my case and realized I'd left the foot switch at home, and it was like the only way to trigger it, because the way it had been loaded onto the box, the only way to trigger all of the sounds for the whole set was with this foot switch that was in Glasgow 3 hours away, and I had to play in like an hour, so there was no way of doing it.
Yeah.
So the only other option was to go onto the SPDSX, like plug it into my laptop and go into the software on my laptop and change about where the sounds were. So I'll try not to make this too technical, but basically pick up the audio file from it being registered to the foot switch and move it to a pad so that I could hit it with the pad. But I had to do that for 70 different songs, right? So it took a bit of time. But the worst bit was I didn't have the cable to plug it into my laptop. And the cable that the SPDSX uses is actually a printer cable. So I had to go to the office in the wedding venue that I was playing and ask if they had a printer cable. And just like I was just praying. I was like, because I guess most people probably don't have printer cables anymore.
No.
So I was just like, please tell me you have a printer cable. They were like, that's a weird request. And the woman was like, oh, let me check. And then she went away into the back room, and I was just kind of sweating, just like, and she came out and she was like, you're not going to believe this, but we actually have a printer cable. So I was like, oh my God. Just took it and ran away and moved all the things over. And like, it was like, I managed to get it all changed over within 3 or 4 minutes of the first dance. And it was like, right, the new Mr. and Mrs. And then we went and played the first dance. And never, that was a moment I was like, never again. Well, I will be prepared for everything from now on.
But it all sounds to be a bit complicated nowadays, because in the past you'll see drummers and all it is just the drum kit and then that's it. But nowadays I think drummers use like electronic pads and then they hit something, because I remember see Northside, so the drummer of Northside's got this thing that he hits before every song, and but they didn't have that in those days, did they? So this actually helps in like the drum parts in every song. Is that what they are?
Yeah, it's pretty common. So you'd be hard pressed to find a modern band now that that doesn't use
So
that kind
yeah,
of stuff. It's like sound enhancement, right? So it helps make sound that you hear live sound like bigger and fuller and more like the record.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's
It's But
fascinating.
yeah, so it becomes part of what you, I guess, what you have to learn as a modern session
A
musician
modern
and
drummer.
modern musician. Drummer is like quite often the drummer gets, it's the drummer's responsibility to do that stuff, to have the pads and all that kind of thing. So it's a like a legitimate part of what you have to learn to be a working drummer these days. I think is know how
Yeah.
to use all that kind of stuff, because there's just no way you're going to play. Well, maybe there is, but it's very unlikely that you're not going to play a gig or be asked to do a gig that requires you to know how to use that
Yeah.
kind of stuff now.
It's like with the guitarists, and you see that they have this pedal or
Mm.
whatever, and it's got all these different things. And sometimes, especially when you're very close to the stage and you can see it, they're not really using it, are they? It's like, I mean, sometimes they will step on something,
Yeah, they got it all programmed in.
but then most of the time they're just there, all these knobs and things, and it's like, what do they do with that? So I suppose with the drummers, there's the electronic thing that's also now part of the drum kit. So it's not just the drum kit anymore.
That's a
Yeah,
good way to think about it. It's part of the drum kit now. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. If you do like if I did a pop gig, it would be acoustic drums, but with electronic drums mixed in. So I would call it a hybrid drum setup. But I would be thinking of those electric drums like just an extension of the drum kit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When you go on tour, do you always bring your drum kit, or is it just
Usually, always. Yeah.
yeah,
Usually, always. There's
yeah,
occasional tours where you might not, and if you're maybe, but most of the time you
you
would. Yeah.
yeah. Well, my last question for you is, especially because you're a drum instructor,
Mm-hmm.
what would be your advice to aspiring drummers or musicians out there?
Listen to as much music as you possibly can. That would be my advice. Uh, Practice and stuff, like there's so many different ways to do it, right? Like spend time on the drum kit, because even if you're not practicing an exercise from an instructor or something like that, just time on the drum kit like can't be overstated how valuable that is. Um, Feel free, like have fun with it. Don't forget it's meant to be fun. And then there's like, I mean, for me, I just binge watched every YouTube video under the sun with like explanations of things to do, and then I guess getting into a room and playing music with other people and enjoying it, and
Yeah,
because like a lot of the stuff, right? You might have specific questions and find a good musician or instructor nearby to ask those things out, like if you want to learn about this stuff or whatever else. But most of the stuff you pick up on the way, I think. But kind of just get out and do it is the main piece of advice I think I would say.
yeah.
There's
Which is
no
what you do.
substitute. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's kind of no substitute to just getting out and doing it. And
yeah.
that's the that because that is it. Like that's the thing. I think that's the joy as well. So it's like the best teacher and it's fun. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of things in there, but if I really think about it, actually get out and do it, and just and listen to music, and
Oh,
listen to loads and loads of music.
yeah. That's brilliant. That is true. Oh, thank you so much. I mean,
You're so
I'm really
welcome.
glad that you said yes. And I don't normally do technical things, but it's so fascinating. And then, you being a drum instructor as well, it's so nice to know all information about the ones that you don't see when you watch a gig or something. So
Yeah,
um
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so enjoy your holiday. I know you said that you booked a few holidays this year,
Thank you
so you're
very
not
much.
all those gigging and touring and everything. But hopefully, I'll get to see you again soon. Maybe
Likewise.
with altered images, and we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, take care always, and
Take care.
yeah, hope to see you again soon. And thank you so much.
You're very
So,
welcome. Thank you for having me.
all right, we'll see you again soon. Right.
See you there.
Bye. See ya. Like,
Bye.
oh, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us live, and thank you very, very much to Kyle. That's so amazing. It's like, I mean, I know I always say whenever I contact drummers, I always tell them there's nothing technical about it because I'm not very good with technical stuff. I don't even know the right terms to use for drumming and all these questions and instruments and things, but it's just nice and it's fascinating to find out more about it. So thank you so much, Kyle, and we'll be back again next week. Hopefully, I'm still awaiting confirmation for our next guest. But enjoy enjoy the rest of your day, and eat your chocolate eggs. But for those who haven't got, like I haven't got one, I'm so looking forward to tomorrow because it's gonna be half price soon. Because Easter, now that Easter is over, I'm sure all these chocolate eggs will just go down in price. So I will get something tomorrow, or maybe next this week, sometime this week. But yeah, so as always, love music, love life, love drummers. Thank you so much, Kyle Sharp. I really enjoyed that conversation so much, and finding out about Falkirk and finding out your awesome teachers, and also about the technical side of drumming as well. So hope to see you all again next week. um, that's it. Happy Easter. Bye for now. Bye.